everybody is seeing an awful lot of you at the moment
Mm.
because there are so many travel and transport issues. It's sort of, you know that we all love you to bits, but it's like you're the sort of grim reaper of transport at the moment, because the more we see of Simon Calder, the worse things are on the trains and the roads.
Well, look, Daisy, we should be talking now about all the amazing places that we're going to escape to this summer. And of course, tomorrow is called by the travel industry Sunshine Saturday. They hope we'll all be booking trips, so we've got something to look forward to. But I'm afraid I have never seen a winter like this. I'm counting back 5 weeks from today, and that was when it all started going really badly for the 20 million or so people who don't have access to a car, who rely on public transport, particularly the railways. And that was the start of 9 days of industrial action by the train drivers union, ASLEF. That was followed by scheduled cuts by a couple of operators, particularly in the Manchester and the Leeds area, reducing the number of trains to try to run the rest on time. We then went into engineering works over the festive period, as always. But on top of that, we got a strike in the Channel Tunnel, tens of thousands of Eurostar passengers stranded by that. And then after Christmas, of course, they had floods beneath the Thames. And 5 days this year, all 5 days, we've had really serious flooding, particularly, as you say, in the Great Western Railway area. And tonight they're saying, well, we're going to do our best, but you want to go to South Wales, we'll try and run one train an hour, which will meander around via Bristol and eventually end up in South Wales some hours later.
And we've got a tube strike coming around the
Yeah.
corner. Now, I know that only affects Londoners, but that is a significant number of people.
Oh, it certainly is. And this is how it's going to work. So starting 5:30 on Sunday, Transport for London, which runs the tube, says that as a result of this dispute, which is all about pay and conditions, there won't be any tube or any sensible tube until Friday morning. The whole idea is to wipe out a working week by the members of the RMT union. Now, I personally, looking at the strike, which is going to be a slightly old one because it's different groups of workers each day, I think there will be a couple of days when actually the tube service might be all right. But we won't know until we actually get there. And obviously Transport for London just wants to manage expectations and say it's going to be horrible. People in London who can use the Elizabeth line, that will be running normally, but there will be restrictions on stations in the central area, particularly early and late. So you will be able, for instance, to get to Heathrow Airport on public transport. But it's the last thing anybody needs, since we've got all this natural disruption, and not forgetting, of course, the usual signal failures and points failures.
And Simon, answer me this. We've had train strikes for, is it a year?
Year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half we've been having train strikes. And obviously the point of a strike is to try to negotiate and get a good deal for your union members from the government. So far, that's failed. And one of the reasons, that they strike is to inconvenience people, so that, the great British public will be absolutely incensed and will want the government to do something. But it seems to me that post-pandemic, most people just say, OK, well, I'm going to work from home if I can't get on the trains. Now, that's not a possibility for everybody. If you're a key worker, you can't work from home, and so I understand that. But one of the issues with the railways is that they, before the strikes, were taking less money, fewer ticket sales were going through. Presumably, with the strikes, there's been even less money going into the railways because even fewer people have been using the trains.
You've summed it up beautifully. Managed decline, or some people would say mismanaged decline. And events like the past 5 days of flooding, that means that there's no real ticket revenue, because anything they've taken in tickets, they're handing back in delay repay. So it's an absolute mess. And yes, at the core of this, revenue for the railway is still 20% down. That amounts to billions of pounds currently being paid by the taxpayer. Thank you very much indeed. We've got a Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who has utter disdain for the railways anyway, and therefore, talking to Mick Whelan, the boss of the train drivers union ASLEF, he says he doesn't think there's going to be a settlement unless there is a change of government. But even if Labour were to be elected, they will have a mass of problems to solve, and every time there's a strike, flooding, whatever it is, it makes people walk away from the railway. It changes behaviour in a few % of people, and eventually you end up, we've got to cut services. Oh, we're going to get fewer passengers. It's going to be horrible unless we all kind of stop it. And
exactly that.
yeah.
Now, I know I'm going to get into trouble because I'm running out of time, but I just want to ask you this question. Rishi Sunak is saying that Keir Starmer has no plans, has no policies. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show. Does Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have any plans and policies for the railways?
No. I mean, they pretend to. They say, we're going to nationalise everything. We're going to build HS2, or maybe we're not going to build HS2. If and when they come in, they are going to find they've got all the same problems that the current government has. But hopefully they will be able to look at it a bit more positively, but they haven't got any instant solutions. It's much easier to heckle if you're in opposition than it is actually to do something about it.
Yeah, as always. Well, Simon, come back and we'll actually talk about the politics sometime of the railways, because I think a lot of people really, really do care about that. Simon Calder, thank you very much.